80.
All right, we're going to move on. Item 542, line item 542 is the swimming pool. Steve, when we went through this, I really did not have any good timeline as far as the projections for these numbers. So Mrs. Roberts and I, when we put these in there, we left it as it was for last year, simply because depending on what the timeline is for the new pool, or some of the items have to stay no matter what, the insurance, some of those items right there. And so this one right here is honestly just a guess. There's no way to adequately plan for that at this point without knowing what the future holds. So that's the reason why it is in there like that. Chances are we're going to be either way over or way under on this thing. But at this point, there's too many unknowns, so that's why this is in there.
It was based on the last year.
Yes. And so, yes. So that's the reason why that it's like it is. Are there any questions on where that came from?
I guess I have a couple of questions, because I know that we are in the works for renovating our pool so it can be open. So is there a reason that we don't have, because we've received kind of an initial budget from Omni with approximate numbers. So is there a reason that we don't have any funds listed at all under capital outlay to kind of help anticipate costs for that project?
We don't have a cost because we've not been out to bid yet. We've paid for all the engineering services that we anticipate that we're going to have to pay for. And so, the next part of it's a guess. All right. And, if you're going to make a guess, we can do a budget revision at any time to take care of whatever we would have to. It's, if you're just wanting to put a number down in there, I mean, it's a guess.
Well, I understand that, and I feel like a lot of the budget when we come up to a fiscal year is an educated guess, at least to a degree. So we have an estimate from Omni that says it's going to be between 5 point whatever and 6 point whatever million dollars for the pool. And we've discussed how we're going to fund the pool. So I guess I'm just a little leery about going into a fiscal year with not having any kind of pre-planning on how we're going to really pay for the pool, or what percentage of that we're going to come from capital outlays.
You have to balance the revenue side of it.
Right.
All right. Now, if you want to transfer money out of capital reserve to fund that, well, you can do that with a simple budget revision, because what you're going to do is when we finally get a number and we determine how we're actually going to pay for the pool itself, it's going to be outside financing. It's going to be a contribution from capital reserve and whatever contributions that we can get to offset that. All right. But we don't have a number to work off of yet. And we're not going to go out for financing until we have that number. And, Mrs. Roberts, any suggestions or on how you would?
To make that. So we can do it now, or we can wait till we actually have our number, and we can do a basic budget revision that says we need to pull it in from capital reserve and put it in there.
Same as I understand it. We've already discussed in prior meetings, like I said, the approximate apportionment, we get grants and so on, but we're looking at trying to balance a budget here, and those aren't any type of reliable numbers that we have until these bids come in. So anything we put in versus, correct me if I'm wrong, but anything we put in right now is like I said, a guess.
I mean, it could be possible that then we still have to do a revision to manipulate that number to get it where it needed to be. And I'm willing to do whatever you want to do.
Right, but isn't it your judgment that it's better to work with our budget and balance it with the numbers we are reasonably certain about moving forward as we've done in years past, knowing the pool is coming, but it's premature to try to budget that right now because we don't have those numbers.
And that's my opinion on it, because if you're going to pull it out of capital reserve just to have a number in a budget, you're not really estimating what your revenues are going to be, because that's not a revenue, that's a transfer.
Right.
Okay?
I mean, if you want my honest opinion, I don't have a really good feel right now, council's direction on how much to be financed versus how much come from capital reserve versus, you know, how much we're going to be able to secure in any kind of grant funding. I don't feel like I have a very good feel for that.
Yeah.
To make a very good educated guess
I-
on that number.
I understand, and that's not something that I want to put on you. Maybe I'm putting that on council, and maybe we need to discuss that further before we finalize the budget. Is figuring out, like, what percentage of this are we going to pull from our capital reserves? What percentage are we aiming for grants, and what percentage are we aiming for financing, so that we can, you know, have a plan going forward? Because I don't think we've really, I mean, we've said that those are the three options, but again, we still haven't really said about how much is going to be for either of those. And I know we won't have exact answers, and that's okay, but I think we should have some kind of a number, knowing that that's coming this year.
What percentage are you gonna use?
For the pool?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, what percentage of what number are you gonna use?
Well, we have an initial estimate from Omni that said it's going to be a range
'Cause
between.
that's just a guess.
It's a very educated guess. I mean, it's going to be in a range between 5.4 and 6.2 million, right? So I would assume the worst case, because I know how things are going right now, and things with costs of everything and costs of materials and lead times and labor and all of that. So I think I would rather be conservative, you know, and say we can assume the pool is going to be $6.2 million. How much of that can we afford to pull from capital reserves, and then figure out the rest? But I guess
Well,
that's just my
all right.
opinion. So
Think of your number, Chris.
Yeah.
When we get back to this and we're actually going to take a vote and we'll balance it, then you're welcome to make a proposal, or whatever you want to call it.
okay,
And, you know, obviously, all of us need to figure out how comfortable we are with allocating our share of this. Like, if you're talking percentages, Tom, are we in for 30%, 40%, 50%? How do you want to do it? And the other thing is, the terms that we secure for the financing of the rest of it, 10 years, 20 years, whatever. That will also factor into that. But just think about what your comfort level is, so that when we do get to that, then we'll have, you know, some sort of a,
Interest rates on that amount of money can make a significant difference.
So Chris, you're thinking about, and your thought process is that, okay, we take the high end of the Omni cost of 6.2, that's 6.2 million, just coming up with a figure of a percentage of how much of that
right.
we would place in this upcoming budget to put in that line item in 59.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would the ultimate cost determine the percentage you use?
it would for me, I know that. Okay?
I mean, you know,
Yeah, it would for, I mean, it would for me. Yep. But anyway, all
Well,
right.
I have some questions on that too. So I really wish we would drill down and figure out exactly how we want to do it, because I think when you start talking about capital reserves, and that's not unlimited, we can talk about that in a second, but what we feel comfortable with to actually finance. Because to me, I'm super frustrated with this line item, because it can be significantly higher. Because if you, I don't know, just throw something out there. If you would finance like $4 million for 10 years, 4% or something, you're going to have payments, I don't know, $40,000 payments. So you're close to nearly $500,000 annually for just the debt service on that. And then I think also your costs are going to go up significantly than what they were before. For example, I think the Bishman and the pool professional pool services, they're going to charge more money. Utilities are going to go up. We voted to have those gas heaters. Well, to run that gas is going to be expensive. So the purpose of doing a budget is to kind of, know what you're doing. It's all a guesstimate. So I think that we really need to do that. Major concerns about
I
it.
have no expertise in running a pool. So, if somebody wants to,
Well, these are operating costs based on the historical numbers that Steve has used for the last 4 or 5 years. Okay? Exclusive of the cost of the pool installation itself. This is what Steve estimated in the past of what it took to run that pool. Am I correct?
Correct.
All right? And so that's the reason why, until we get a little farther down, I mean, if you want to pick a number as a comfort level, if it's $5 million and you want the city to contribute half of it, then all we're going to do is we're going to take a commitment out of our capital reserve for $2.5 million to be applied to the swimming pool. All right? So that's the logic here. All right? But the operating costs that Steve has historically used is what you see on this piece of paper.
Which is still going to be there.
Well, that's the hope, or the guess, because you don't know, but utilities may be a little more expensive, but there again, we get more efficient motors, we may run better.
My guesstimates, for lack of better words, are based on what we're going to do every day. That's rain, accidents, so it's close.
All right, anything else? We'll take that up. Okay, but anything else? All right. Then we go to 544, which is our contribution to Artsbridge for $2,000. 547 is a blank line item now. The library, this number's calculated. This is a pass-through. We have no input on this one. It is whatever the state contribution is.
change with the property taxes.
It will change with the property taxes, okay? But it's a pass-through. All right, that moves us down to streets, which is 570.
Geez, a couple line items, I guess that most of it's, 95% of it stayed the same. I think what'll go up is pushing with line item 19, that's a pay trucks that we approved, this year. And, we got line item 59, which is for vehicles that I want for next year. And that would be a new 10-ton unit dump truck and a 3/4 ton pickup, utility pump. And that, the 3/4 ton pickup replaces a vehicle that's 21 years old. We talk about making plans and stated plans, and we talked about, I got a vehicle rotation here. It's every 7 years for a pickup, every 10 years for a dump truck. So it's well beyond that plan time frame. So
You get antique legends for it.
yeah. It's getting really close to what I actually personally drive, but it's not there yet.
4 more years.
So, and the dump truck, the 10-ton unit replaced, which should have been replaced in 2008. This number stayed the same as it has been for quite a few years. The payroll has gone down approximately $26,000.
I had a question about the vinyl printer. Is that something you already have and you're replacing it, or is this something?
Yeah, our current one is 20 years old. And life expectancy on those are 5 years. So we piece it together, it's time to replace that. And we're wanting to do more check for that cutter. So, better graphics. And what we do with that is vehicle graphics for unit numbers and the city simply see the sign, plus street signs and stop signs and road signs.
Okay, thank you.
The others,
No, I do. I looked it up. I actually looked it up and I was like, oh, okay, that makes total sense.
that should be pretty nice pieces, but with a cleaner cut on run and our brush cutting deal, replace the burn. Right now we have a brush all over the choose that stuff. So it's into this life also.
Any further questions on streets? All right. Let me go to beautification.
Any questions on the breakdown here, or the Vienna flower planting is $40,000, basically watering $20,000, 28th Street median redone. That pertains to the gas lines going to the summer and potential for us to do that median right there, so that's $15,100. Then there's $15,000 that's being allocated for the what's called the Pollinator Park, which is the area at 28th Street, a lot there that we'll be working on.
Okay, I'm sorry, Jack. You got me going too quickly. So you're talking about line 41?
Yes.
So, okay, start over. Break that down, please.
$40,000 for Vienna flower plantings. I can go through all of them for the city if you want me to.
I think I know what they all are, but just for clarification, that does not include the flower baskets.
Right.
Okay, because that's a sticking point with some folks. It does include the watering, sure.
28th Street median redone, I put $15,100 in for that. That's just not what's going to happen with gas lines. So, taking out age, anything like that. So,
Quick question, Jack, about that. A question, if you don't mind, about the 28th Street plan. If the gas company, in fact, tears that out, which it looks like it's going to happen, are they not responsible for replacing anything that they would take up or remove during their construction time?
That's the gas lines.
It's a state highway right of way.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And you hit that state word. Okay.
Gotcha.
I just went ahead and got replaces and stuff.
Right. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, but
Okay. Any other questions?
Well, we're not done because I only have 55,000. You were listing those off.
20 for the Vienna planting, 20 for the water, 15 for the Pollinator Park, and 15 for the redo of 28th Street.
So, hang on for a second. I have a question about that. No money in this is for any, I know last budget was the 30th Street electrical upgrade and the Eagle Park improvements. So, those improvements done?
No,
I didn't think so.
it wasn't done.
So you're not contemplating that now.
Not really.
And so you don't have anything in the budget for truck.
The track's finished.
It is, but
We don't. But
I didn't know if there was anything outstanding that you were thinking about.
not right now. I think we're just gonna have the grand opening. I believe it's May 19th.
It's coming up.
Coming up, yeah.
So, and then Founders Park, how much for that?
15,000.
Okay,
That's for the plannings, basically.
so, I know that there was discussion about a walking trail.
Yeah, the walking trail's gonna come this year.
Okay,
I've got grant money that came back in. I think a little bit over $20,000 in grant money, probably closer to 25.
okay, and then, benches and that, is that coming out of that from,
I would try to,
that was from last year? I mean, to be used as,
benches that we've got for track Vienna. And I believe I will have enough money, because Craig and I talked about trying to get Blacktop Trail in there. Maybe saving some money there.
when you say Blacktop Trail, is that gonna be similar to like how it is in McDonough?
You mean, around the
Yeah.
bathroom complex?
Yeah.
It's cool. But that's the 6-foot wide trail.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, So it better accommodates people who use wheelchairs or walkers or whatever. I think that's a good idea. Although, aesthetically, I would, kind of bummed out as blacktop, but,
But we talked about the benefits of having it, if you go down there with walkers or anything like that versus being on gravel.
Absolutely. A lot easier and a lot safer. Okay. Thank you.
All right. 581 streetlights, Craig.
Nothing changed on that, so any questions?
So utility costs. Yes.
Not for purpose.
Okay. Our Middle High Valley Work Camp is no longer on our item. The Trove Street Mission is a $2,500 contribution to them as an outside agency. Jack Tree Commission, $600.
Yeah, okay. Under line item 30, which is 46,400, I should say how that's broke down. 300 of that's under utilities. 18,000 is included for the purchase of 30 trees. Again, that goes back to Residential Avenue and most of the places that are on there. Tree removal, I put $10,000 into that part of the budget for any trees we potentially have to remove from the city. Forester fees, what I'm paid $14,400, and fee disease is $4,000 for $46,700 total. There. $3,000 you see down there is for mulch. You have a few median trees. And then down where you see the $45,000, that's from a grant match of $15,000. We're applying for the state of West Virginia. I've been talking to them about that. Trying to do a professional tree inventory on the city of Vienna, the trees that are on the street or city right of ways. Could include some of the trees in Jackson Park, some of the park proper itself. There's some trees I have questions about. Basically, what we do, there's 3 different companies and through this process. We come in, approximately a week, 2 weeks here with our employees measuring the trees. We would actually give them the perspective of what we want them to measure and give us my main interest. The protection of the cities, not, they will measure the diameter of the trees, and we'll measure the height of the tree, but what I'm looking at is a risk assessment. Tell us how dangerous is this tree, what are we looking at, what's its hazard classification. If something does happen, this tree is going to make a house, it's going to do this, what's going to be the potential of it. I asked a question today about how long it says been for. It's given 10 years is what they consider this. So it's not going to be updated for 10 years. The other part of this process is there's a software program that comes with it. It's compatible with what Craig has up at 60th Street. It's one of the things that we keep updated anytime we have trees or have hazard trees or frankly, trees off, trees, it will be added to that program. Anytime we do tree pruning, it goes onto that program. I think what it does is it builds a lot of credibility in the city and have problems with liability of people who walk the streets or people down the road. We've got our new program. It's built not for one person. We've brought companies in to look at trees. There's some trees that I have a lot of questions about that are within the city that generally to look at it and say, is this a problem? But if you look at the targets, if something does happen with the trees, what could happen? And there's potential there. So I would just like part of what they will also be doing. Tree Commission will meet with these companies, we'll talk to them, interview them, give them what we're looking for, actually in the out. They will begin the process also. I think it's just,
So is it just for the trees that are on city property or right-of-way stuff, or is it also on private individuals' properties?
You know, one of the things you run into is trees that are on personal property. You get parts of the tree in the public property, and those would be called off-point trees. And what I would do, and talking to our forester pose a problem or risk or something, I want this thing to be off one tree. The thing that this does, then when you have this database, say like a few years ago, when you were on the dashboard, it started dropping the ash trees, and you didn't know where that ash trees, well, you said you go, get a button, click, and it'll show you where every ash tree is growing, where every maple tree is growing, where it is growing. There's all kind of decisions coming. I mean, it's not a land right in Maryland right now, coming in, it's going to be a problem here. There's just a lot of stuff, it's just a tool we can use, it's just, what we need information.
Did you say it does include private property or,
It can,
except the off-point ones you don't?
right, the off-point ones would be private property, I can't do the work, we can't do the work on private property, they can stay on public property. Or with an owner, they can say, yeah, you can look at this tree, because we are going to have some off-point trees. The other thing is, that they can get into what's called class 1 tree problem. That's some of the ones that I really am nervous about. They actually bring in a piece of equipment that basically x-rays the tree. They put it up to the outside of the tree and x-rays and shows any holes, any defects, any problems. So they would give me the grant that they talked to me about, and the rate of grant was $55,000 or $15,000. You said $15,000 as a match for that program. And then when they talked to me today, they talked about future grants, plans, and different things. So that's pretty much it right there. The other part to that is classic construction. I put $30,000 in there. That's back to Spencer Park or Spencer lot down here called Founders Park, Pollinator Park, like Creative Plaza. And the far end of it is a landscape area of stone. Everybody will be down and sit and relax. I tell you, the view of the river, the view of the area, it's a nice place to go. The trees and everything up here.
I was gonna ask, so that's at, you're talking about like that 28th Street property, kind of adjacent to John Mansville there? Okay. I guess just a question on that, because I know the city owns that. Are we considering that a park, and then does the Parks Department maintain that? Is that kind of the hope for that?
It is not a park.
Okay. Because I just, out of personal kind of concern there, I would hate to put a bunch of money into that and, build a plaza and build an asphalt trail and plant a bunch of pollinators, which I'm all for. Don't get me wrong. But if we're not going to maintain it as a park and keep it up, and if it like becomes something else in 2 years, I would hate to be like, man, we spent $100,000 in developing this, and now it's nothing.
We've maintained that spot for the last 7 years.
Yeah, you can
Yeah. Okay. Oh, I mean, that was just, I guess, a question on that. And then, have you guys looked at trying to connect that down with Spencer's Landing and paving any of those asphalt trails to try to connect down to there? Or? Okay.
Down there, but the fact is, it's a piece of property, obviously, if we want to do something with it, then that's our potential. Something else.
Yeah.
But what we look at right now, we're looking at, because we're the master gardeners in our ward, and it's really, we're trying to Vienna, which is a lot of history and not a lot to do with flowers and trees and stuff. So when you're working with the board, you got all the guys that do now, so this is their chance to do what they want to do.
To bloom.
Pardon?
To bloom.
Yeah.
This is their chance to bloom.
Yeah. I mean, and that makes sense. And I think that's great that we're trying to do that. I guess my question there is, we know that we know for a fact that we want Spencer's Landing to be a park. So is there any way that we could maybe, through the tree commission or beautification commission, start thinking about putting some new trees down there or developing some stuff down there? I know we don't have a full plan yet, but pollinator gardens and stuff they're seasonal and things like that. I think it would just be great to consider trying to develop it.
necessary, and I'll start planting stuff and then grow that for something. And then all of a sudden, we'll put the building and cut it down and go into this. If going to be changes in elevation or dirt work or anything like that, trees that aren't working with it, dirt flooding around and stuff. That's kind of one of the first things I would look at doing, that it's going to be accurate.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, anything else for tree commission?
Yeah, I have a couple things. So why can't it be a park? That's, I mean, you just said it's not a park, but why not?
It could be.
Well, to Chris's point, and I think everybody, it's a great piece of property. I mean, and if we're going to put money into it, why are we not making the commitment to make it a park? And
I guess for me, if, from the maintenance side point of it, you know, Public Works has taken care of that since it was cleaned up and developed. And they do a great job. Anything that comes up, they get right on it. Steve's got miles worth of mowing that he does, you know, and so it's a good balance. All right. I mean, I like to keep the crews the way they are. So, you know, until that becomes an issue, you're simply making an issue of a park as opposed to Spencer's Landing. It doesn't make any difference. It's just a word.
Well, it kind of does make a difference. I mean, I think when this kind of had the same argument when we talked about Spencer's Landing, you know, and I'm not trying to create more work for Steve's department or take work away from Craig's department.
Time out a minute. Hold on. We've had budget to get through here. We can have this discussion about parks or whatever
This
later.
is about the budget.
No, it's
Mayor.
not.
That's your opinion.
It
You don't
is.
even know what I'm going to ask. I have a couple other questions.
Go ask your questions.
Okay. Wow. I'll move on to another question then, since he doesn't want to answer this one. Back to the grant for the, okay, who will be putting in the database? Have you got that figured out?
No, I've got to answer the yeah, that's why when he said.
No, I meant who maintains the database.
I talked to Craig. They got free software that.
Yeah, they
So
do.
is that on the GIS software? Okay.
Our standard software, and we'll just, it's all it is, it'd be additional labor. It works fine.
Right. So Tommy or whoever will enter in the information. So, because, you know, I mean, I understand more about it. My other question, and you answered it, but I'm just going to ask it again because I know how this goes. Man, software as a service. They're telling you like for 10 years, you're not going to have to pay an annual fee.
No, they've never said it. I don't know what different companies want to have different things on the software. I don't know. They're just telling me I don't need to update to have anybody come back in and remeasure the trees or remove the trees on what we do locally. What I'll do locally for 10 years.
Okay. So there could be, if you go ahead with this, there could be additional fees annually to licensing fees, et cetera.
Whatever.
Actually, it shouldn't be that. Just like I said, again, it's a layer format on the GIS software. So they give us the language that we draw on. And we incorporate it in our GIS software, which you pay that yearly fee, which is actually counting.
Okay. I mean,
It wouldn't be an additional charge.
okay, because, you know, I just know in my business, I mean, it's a constant thing. And the chief spoke about that.
Every department deals with that. I deal with AutoCAD, I deal with GIS. Every program, your program we have. So we used to, we buy AutoCAD as a paper upgrade. So now it's an actual every year.
The other thing about the whole program that I didn't pay about was this big GIS. Fly back and track whatever tree is in the city of Vienna, give them information about all the trees.
All right, are we done with tree commission now, Kim?
One more question. So in the not going to be a park, whatever we're calling that, okay, are you still getting the sign for that?
We hadn't even come up with a name yet. You know, we call it founder property, we call it different things. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, but my question is this, so is the money for the sign, was that in the last budget? You still have that money?
We spent, that's into the sign for truck Vienna.
Oh, okay, my misunderstanding, I thought you were gonna put a sign down at 28th Street too,
I think it's got a sign down there, but, yeah,
but it's not in any budget and, okay, all right.
I will say, but what's the sign up? I'm not sure what type of sign we need, our new sign machine would go for that. Build something for it.
Okay, yeah, I was thinking of those, what's Seawall, is that the name of the company that we used? They're relatively expensive, I mean, they're really super nice, but like $5,000 signs. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
All right, are we done now?
I'm finished.
All right. So we go to the senior citizens. This is our annual contribution for the Meals on Wheels program for the Wood County seniors. And then we go to the contribution that the Friends of Vienna requested this year of $40,000. Okay? Next item is 704, which is economic development. This covers our contribution to the Mid-Ohio Valley Area Roundtable. It's the Wood County Development Authority and Lindsay Pearsall's group. I'm sorry?
And our contribution to the chamber.
And our contribution to the chamber. Okay. All right. State grants is blank. Visitors Bureau, it's a 50-50 match off of the hotel motel tax, and it stayed the same at $45,000, but that number could fluctuate based on the number of people that rent rooms in Vienna. Code enforcement.
We get a check-in for hotel motel tax, 50% of that we pass on to the visitors and commission, not all.
Code enforcement. Amy, since no one's here this evening, would you take that one?
It's basically the salary case for one person. The difference you see is longevity only. I don't believe we had any adjustments to this department. This would be code enforcement officer. If you have any questions, I know you can put back in the money to demolish a house. Just paid to demolish a house, and we'd like to keep that in the budget in case it needs to be used again.
Questions? Community center, senior center. That line item has went down slightly. The maintenance and buildings and grounds, everything appears to have been completed. The building's been painted, the air conditioning and heating systems are all new. The interior is fresh, so there doesn't appear to be that many expenses on the horizon for that. Advertising and legal publications went down. That was just simply, it's not needed, so that was reduced. The insurance and bonds went up 1,000, and Amy, I don't know the reason for that.
Just the way the expenses are going right now, I adjusted that.
Okay, all right. And so materials and supplies stayed the same. The auto supplies went down slightly, just not a lot of usage on the vehicles. And so that budget went down about $12,000, but everything else stayed the same. Questions on the senior center?
I have a question. On this sheet that was provided, line 58 capital outlay, other $2,500 for a new ice machine. That's not in this budget. I don't know if it's just a error. It didn't make it on the line. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Then we go to civic promotions. Civic promotions went up very slightly. As with everything else, the cost has gone up. the rents and building and equipment, the cost of the rental stuff from where Linda does her events in the parks. She anticipated some increases with that. The legal publications went down on this one as well. Professional services up slightly, $600. And contract services, it went up slightly as well. Everything else stayed the same, so there's a net increase on that of approximately $4,000. All right. Contingencies.
$175,000 to make budget revisions
Okay. That concludes our explanation and questions of the budget. Our next meeting, we will get into the,
One question. I have one more question, if I may, before we, about this.
you can in just a moment.
Sure.
Okay, our next meeting, we will get into the meat of making adjustments to the budget as the items that you all have suggested will be debated, and then we will make those adjustments. The one thing that I have to caution you on, if you intend to add something, you must take it from somewhere else. And if you're going to take something out, then you must determine where those funds are going to go, because it is balanced as it is now. All right, so, yes, ma'am.
So I know that there was a request from all the department heads for the $2 an hour increase, and so that's not the budget we got, so that's not based upon that. And so we have the 35-cent longevity as normal. So my question is, I always worry about those folks that are part-time people working 29 hours a week or less. And I know we have them in the police department, senior center, and we don't have them in concession stands any longer. So we probably have fewer than we did in the past. Is there any reason why we cannot give them the 35-cent increase as well? Just because I feel like they kind of get to a spot where there's not room for them to, get raises on a regular basis as everyone else does.
That would be a council issue. If council votes to include the part-time people in the longevity, then it would simply be part of the formula that Amy calculates for the pay raise.
Correct, and that's why I'm bringing it to her attention, so she has an opportunity to. Yeah, that's what I don't figure it's going to be very much, but I don't know. So my other question, Mayor, is back to the pool, because I really think that we need to plug something in there. So under what you're saying, if you're going to take something away, you have to balance it, but how do we do that if we're going to with the pool?
If you're going to take, it would have to be something out of capital reserve. That's the first page where it lists all the revenues, it tells you all the money we're getting in. Capital reserve is not a revenue source. So if you're going to take that amount of money out, it would have to come out of capital reserve.
Right, you would bring it into general fund, into line item 322.
To eventually then go to 542.
So your revenue side is 322. The offset to that, because you can't just have, right? You have to have two sides. So you'd have your revenue side coming into 322, and then your expense in 542.
Right, gotcha. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how we're amending this, or how we're moving forward.
It would be very helpful if you have things that that you're going to bring up, if you would share them with the finance director so we can work out some of the procedural things. Everything that you bring forward still has to be approved by council. All right, you cannot just make a suggestion and it'll be done. Council has to agree to whatever it is that you want to put in the budget or take out of it. So rather than, be in here with a bunch of surprises and say, oh gosh, if we can get some of these things ironed out before they come, at least procedurally, we will know what to expect. All right? Any final thoughts, Mr. Roberts? All right. And that concludes our agenda for this evening. Are there any council comments this evening? All right.